The halls of the elite academy were always pristine, polished to a reflective shine that seemed to mirror the ambitions of the students who walked them. Every corner gleamed, every corridor hummed with the quiet intensity of young minds trained to excel. Among the brightest minds and prodigies of the human colonies, there was one boy who did not belong. A foster child named Liam. He was small, wiry, and quiet, often overlooked among the loud brilliance of his peers. No one knew much about his past, and few cared. Yet, what set Liam apart was not immediately visible. From the moment Liam entered the academy, he was met with suspicion and subtle hostility. The faculty whispered among themselves, questioning why someone from a foster system could compete with students groomed from birth for greatness. The other students watched him cautiously, some mocking, some indifferent. The academy had standards, and Liam seemed to exist outside them, a wild variable in an otherwise controlled experiment. Despite the cold reception, Liam carried a secret with him. In a small room tucked behind the library, he had discovered an old piano, its keys worn and yellowed with age. It was not the advanced, polished instruments used in formal tests, but something simple, a relic of another time. Liam approached it cautiously, testing each key, listening to the resonance that lingered like a memory. Music had been his refuge, the one constant in a life of uncertainty and change. The piano seemed to respond to him, almost as if it recognized the careful precision of his fingers. Liam practiced tirelessly, learning not only the classical pieces required at the academy, but also inventing melodies of his own. He imagined himself not merely performing, but communicating with the universe itself, each note a ripple across the invisible fabric of reality. Music became a language that transcended status, lineage, and expectation. Unbeknownst to Liam, the academy had its eyes on him, and not in the way he might have hoped. Certain administrators, wary of his unrefined background, conspired to undermine his progress. They wanted to test the limits of human potential, but only within the boundaries they could control. Liam's raw talent was an anomaly, a variable that could not be predicted or contained. One night, as the dormitory lights dimmed, technicians discreetly tampered with the piano in his room. Keys were misaligned, wires slightly loosened, and the internal tuning altered. To anyone else, the changes were subtle, almost imperceptible. But for a player of Liam's sensitivity, it could have meant disaster. The following day, Liam entered the practice room, expecting the familiar feel of the keys under his fingers. Instead, there was tension, a subtle resistance that made the notes hesitate. He frowned, adjusting his posture, listening closely. The piano seemed almost hostile, refusing the fluidity he had achieved. Some students who had gathered to observe his practice laughed quietly, assuming the mishap was a sign of his incompetence. Liam did not respond with frustration or anger. He closed his eyes, centering himself, feeling the music as much as hearing it. Hours passed as he played through scales, exercises, and small compositions, each note precise yet searching. The technicians and administrators, monitoring from hidden observation points, exchanged uncertain glances. Liam's fingers danced over the damaged keys, adapting to the irregularities, creating tones that no one expected. Where there should have been discord, there was harmony. Where others would have faltered, Liam found opportunity. His music seemed to bend to him rather than the other way around, a subtle defiance against the academy's attempt to control him. By the evening, news of his persistence had spread. Students who had mocked him earlier began to gather outside the practice room, curiosity overtaking disdain. Faculty members were called in to witness, skeptical yet intrigued. Liam, unaware of the attention, continued to play, improvising melodies that intertwined with classical foundations. The room seemed to breathe with the music, every note resonating in the polished walls of the academy. When he finally paused, silence fell heavier than any applause could. The administrators who had sabotaged the piano felt unease, a strange mixture of fear and admiration. Liam opened his eyes, noticing the audience for the first time. There was no boast in his expression, only quiet confidence, a knowledge that his music was true. A senior instructor, known for his strict adherence to protocol, stepped forward. His voice was measured but firm. "Liam, do you understand what you just accomplished?" Liam nodded slowly. The piano was flawed, but the music can still speak. The instructor blinked, realizing the depth of his words. The academy prided itself on discipline and technique. Yet here was a boy from a foster home, demonstrating something the curriculum could not teach: resilience, intuition, and the human capacity to rise above manipulation. Word spread quickly. The story of Liam and the sabotaged piano became legend within the academy. It was not merely about skill, but about spirit. Students who had doubted him began to approach with questions, eager to understand his methods. Liam shared willingly, showing that mastery was not just in repetition, but in feeling, in understanding the life behind every note dot. As weeks passed, his fame grew. Invitations came from across the colonies to perform at prestigious events. Yet Liam remained at the academy, determined to continue refining his craft. The administrators who had sought to undermine him could no longer ignore his talent. They introduced new programs, offering him resources previously reserved for the most elite students, hoping to channel his abilities into controlled outcomes. Liam accepted, but on his terms, integrating the freedom and creativity that defined him. During one major demonstration, the Academy unveiled a state-of-the-art holographic stage, designed to test the most advanced musical techniques. Liam was asked to perform with a complex instrument that combined traditional piano keys with digital modulation and reactive, holographic projections. The room was filled with students, faculty, and visiting dignitaries from multiple colonies. Expectations were high, yet there was a palpable tension. Could a boy who had been underestimated navigate such a sophisticated system? Liam approached the instrument, his fingers hovering above the keys. He closed his eyes, feeling the energy of the room and the resonance of the instrument. Then he played. Each note was deliberate, yet spontaneous, weaving through the holographic projections as if painting with sound. The instrument responded to his touch, amplifying the music, projecting emotions and images that captured the hearts of everyone present. The audience was mesmerized, some speechless, some moved to tears. When the final note faded, the silence was broken by a wave of applause that seemed to shake the walls. Faculty members, who had once doubted him, now bowed in acknowledgement. The administrators who had tried to sabotage him could only watch. Their intentions revealed, but their actions, powerless against the sheer force of human talent and determination. Liam's victory was more than personal. It was a statement about potential, about the untapped power within every human being, regardless of origin or circumstance. The academy itself began to change, reassessing its methods and values, realizing that excellence could not always be manufactured. Sometimes it had to be discovered, nurtured, and respected. Over time, Liam became a mentor to younger students, particularly those who had come from backgrounds that the academy considered unconventional. He encouraged them to trust their instincts, to embrace their creativity, and to find their own voices. He demonstrated that even in a world governed by technology, rules, and expectations, the human spirit remained unpredictable and extraordinary. Years later, the story of Liam and the sabotaged piano remained a symbol of human achievement. Students would tell it to newcomers as a reminder that no barrier, no sabotage, no preconceived notion could contain the force of talent coupled with determination. Liam himself continued to create, compose, and inspire. His music a bridge between what was expected and what was possible in every hall of the academy. The echoes of his melodies lingered, a testament to the idea that humans could not only match the stars in ambition, but surpass the limits imposed upon them. The piano, once sabotaged, became a symbol of resilience, its keys worn smooth by a boy who refused to be confined by circumstance. Liam's story reminded everyone that greatness often comes from the most unexpected places, and that the human heart, when dedicated, could achieve what machines and protocols could never predict. Even the most skeptical faculty learned to listen differently, to recognize the value of intuition, creativity, and perseverance. Liam had not merely played the piano. He had changed the academy itself, transforming it into a place where potential could flourish, not because it fit into a system, but because it defied it. The academy continued to train generations of prodigies, but none forgot the foster boy who had faced sabotage and emerged triumphant. His story became a quiet revolution, a testament to human ingenuity and spirit, a reminder that true talent is never silenced, and that the most extraordinary gifts often come from the most unlikely beginnings.